Hi, everybody. It's meteorologist Joe Chaffee on this Thursday, and we've got two areas of severe weather to worry about today, although the risk is marginal, covering most of, in fact, all of the southeast, the northern half of Florida, all the way up into most of Virginia except the northeastern part of the state, and then back through western Tennessee, southeastern Kentucky, eastern Alabama. So it's a pretty large area of marginal risk, but no slight risk indicated. And here's something we haven't seen in a while. We actually have a risk of severe weather in the Northwest with a marginal risk from the state of, covering most of the state of Washington, Oregon, and down into northernmost California. And then we have this slight risk just inside of that. So we're going to take a look and see what that's all about in just a second. We had some frost issues this morning in some of the colder northwestern counties of New Jersey, where temperatures dropped down into the low 30s this morning and on up to parts of the Hudson Valley as well. And we've rebounded from that already as temperatures with bright sunshine running up in the mid and upper 50s as we move through the late morning hours. And as we go to the west, you can see there's rain advancing now through Ohio and Indiana, parts of Illinois, around the Chicago area. We're seeing some rain, and this is as low pressure is moving out of the southern plains and now into western Kentucky, it seems. And here's your warm sector that's setting up to the south of that. And you can see temperatures are already in the mid and upper 60s and some 70s beginning to show up in the Carolinas, and to the north in the cooler air, temperatures in the 50s and 40s. So this is another formidable little system that's coming out, and we're going to take a look and see what that's going to do with regards to precipitation. By the way, right now on the radar, at least this morning, there's nothing going on in pretty much all of the west. It's very, very quiet except for a few isolated showers here and there. But here's the action in the eastern part of the United States, this large area of rain that is covering the Ohio Valley, southern Michigan, and advancing northeastward, and then it arcs back through Illinois and into Missouri. Here's the upper low. You can see the twisting there, and here we have the showers and thunderstorms from the warm sector. This rain here is going to wind up going by north and west of the coast in the northeast. It's from this area of showers and thunderstorms to the south that will eventually lift up along the east coast on Friday and bring a solid 1 to 2 inches of rain, which is pretty much what I've been going for many days. Latest satellite loop, and you can see it here, fairly impressive structure in the satellite with this upper air storm. There's that twisting you see here moving to the northeast, and the tropical moisture that's coming into the southeast that's going to trigger off the thunderstorms, and this is the overrunning rain that's going on to the north. Nice weather right along the immediate coast and on up into the northeast for now until these clouds move in. And you can see out in the west it's also fairly clear except for a few little pockets of cloud cover here and there. And we'll look at the west coast now, and here's that jet out in the west offshore. It's this trough that's going to be approaching the coastline, and that is going to be the trigger mechanism for some showers and thunderstorms for later today and for tonight in the Pacific Northwest. Okay, so let's see what the models are up to as we take a look. I'm going to start first in the east. Actually, you know what? Let's do it a little different today. We're going to start first in the west. I changed my mind on the fly. Very, very quiet here on the initial GFS model, but here we are overnight. This is where, with low pressure, with that trough coming in along the Pacific Northwest coast, triggering off some showers and thunderstorms this evening, and then that continues to move inland, gradually translating east of the Sierras, and you start to get into some rain from western Montana through Idaho into Nevada during Saturday night into Sunday. And then much of that moisture begins to translate east of the Rockies. Looks like some scattered showers and some thunderstorms into the Rockies come Sunday night into Monday. And then low pressure develops in Utah early next week for Tuesday and Wednesday. Looks like some rain and snow for Colorado and Wyoming. which is nice, and on up into the northern plains. More moisture starts to come into the Pacific Northwest. And by the way, this system is going to be another one that's going to swing eastward as we move through the latter part of next week toward the eastern part of the U.S. And here's the next one coming into the Pacific Northwest coast. So busy, yes. I think it's kind of reflecting what's happening, which is the fact that there's been a tendency for ridging in the western part of the U.S. now with this blocking pattern that's setting up in the east. And as we move through the longer term, we start to get, of course, into the fantasy land with the models. But at least there are still more chances for precipitation and much of it rain in the western part of the U.S. Now, to the east we go. And we're going to back this up and show you what we think is going to happen with this weather system. The initial low just kind of spins and meanders around. A surface low gets into the central Appalachians. But you can see what happens here, all this tropical moisture that comes out of the Gulf of Mexico that triggers off those showers and thunderstorms where we have the area of marginal risk. That is going to be expanding as we move through Friday. And the GFS and all the models in their mid-cycle runs last night got more aggressive with the rainfall here. I've been touting the idea of a good solid 1 to 2 inch rainfall. The models kind of went more like on the order of 2 inches plus. I'm going to stick with the idea of 1 to 2 inches for now and just mention the fact that it looks like there might be a little bit of upside to all of this. And then that area moves out. Now, here's the problem for the weekend. That surface low basically just gets trapped underneath the upper low and rotates around. So there are going to be showers rotating around that upper low across the mid-Atlantic and Northeast Saturday and Sunday. So there'll probably be some more rain and, yes, cold enough for maybe even some snow in elevated areas in western New York and northwestern Pennsylvania Sunday night into Monday, if you want to believe it. And we have this chilly start to next week before we start to deal with the next round of low pressure. By the way, if you look up here up to the north, there's higher pressures here up in southeastern Canada. So this is reflecting the block. And that's why we're getting these weather systems that are trying to force themselves to our south. Here's one, if you want to believe the GFS, it gets us back into the soup along about Thursday of next week. And then it continues right into the weekend as this next thing just spins around and spins around. So we'll deal with whatever we deal with this week, Friday and this weekend, and a bit of a break, perhaps. But there will be cloud issues through this week, I think. And then we're going to probably have another one of these very slow-moving, spinning lows. And still kind of a cool pattern here going into the long term. Blocks are fun, aren't they? Imagine this in the wintertime. Because in the wintertime, we'd be sitting in most of the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic probably sweating out snow threats. So what's going on in the upper layers of the atmosphere? You just asked me. Well, I'm going to answer that question. And back we go. By the way, we'll go back to the beginning of this week, and you can watch the evolution of the block. All right. So this is the area that you should, at least on this first turn, keep an eye on. And here's your jet stream in the southern part of the jet stream already suppressed to the south, and you've got a fairly active Canadian jet as well. Now, watch what happens over Greenland. You see, there's that upper high right up through here, builds very strongly over Iceland, pushes its way over into Greenland. And notice as that high pushes down, it keeps forcing this jet further and further south. So this is our weather system for Friday in the east, a very wrapped up low in the upper layers of the atmosphere. Here's your block, okay? And as a result, there's your jet stream way south. And also, we have trapped upper lows across the Atlantic with a ridge out in and just west of 60 west in the Atlantic Ocean. So this is sort of, it's kind of got everything trapped. The actual jet, look how the jet in the Pacific goes all the way. I mean, this is really a very, very impressive flow, all being caused by this upper high, just literally pushing its weight and forcing everything in terms of the jet stream pattern to be south of normal. And there's that upper low in the east. You see we're now into Saturday, how it just kind of gets into the eastern lakes and just spins around there, because you still have, now the strength of the upper high weakens a little into early next week, but you still have higher than normal pressures all over the North Atlantic, and there's a big Atlantic storm. Look, if you watch what happens to this upper low here in the Azores, that comes to a grinding halt. So if this isn't moving, this can't move, and then the next weather system is going to have a tough time trying to push it eastward. And in fact, here we have this pretty strong upper low early next week moving into Southern California, and that's probably reflecting the weather system that we were pointing out with the west for early next week. Okay, so we'll see where, let's see how this takes us now going forward. Let me just X out of that. So we're at Monday of next week, May 8th. So finally, that upper low tries to move eastward, but look at that Atlantic low that's out near the Azores. It actually backs westward. So you can see how everything just gets trapped in the east. The upper high rebuilds south of Greenland and pushes its way into Labrador, and even further west-southwest from there. That's very, very strong blocking that we have here through next week. And in fact, as we move in the middle of next week, finally part of that upper low goes out in the northeast, but look, part of it gets left back. Now we've got something coming out of the southwest, and here we have the next wrapped up low in the eastern part of the U.S. for next weekend that just sits around before it finally lifts up to the northeast. And yet there's still a pretty good jet here. The profile longer range changes a little bit. You have a ridge now out in the Azores building up toward Greenland, but now you've got this Canadian flow. This is pretty chilly air that's being indicated here. Ridge out in the Rockies, trough off the west coast. Very, very busy weather pattern indeed for the longer term. And in terms of the overall temperatures, look at the let's look at the temperature anomalies, because now we're into May 20th, and let's just, a lot of blue in the east. A lot of below normal temperatures in the east. So, here was the early part of the week when it was warm. So now that's done. And, a little below average today. Average on Friday with that surface low going just to the west. And then we gradually go into this below normal temperature pattern throughout the eastern part of the United States, back to the Great Lakes, now through Thursday, May 11th, the 12th, 13th. It's mostly below normal here right through the 2-week plus period. So we've got the block doing what blocks usually do, which is displace cold air to the south and create problems. Precipitation-wise, we'll look at total precip here. We'll look at the west first. And let me just back it up, as I'm showing you here now 2 weeks worth of rain. So I think this is more valuable here in the short term. But here's our rain. We'll go out 5 days. I think that's fair enough. And amounts, not half an inch to an inch, couple of pockets of 2 inches. You can see the variability of it all with respect to the precipitation profile in the western part of the U.S. And in the east, here we have, these are total 5-day precip amounts. The purplish areas centered over northern New Jersey, Long Island, and southern Connecticut would be indicative of 2 to 3 inch rainfalls. Most of this is going to fall on Friday. I will we'll look at what the weekend showers will do in just a second, but there's the rain from the overrunning that's well west and north. So there's kind of a gap in the middle. Still, there's every bit of 1 inch plus rains for most of this area, and then you've got this pocket of 2 inch pluses developing throughout southeastern New York, northern New Jersey, and through southern New England, and then just off the southeastern coast, along southeastern New England, and there's also some heavier precip that's being indicated Virginia, North South Carolina. Again, most of that is going to be thunderstorm driven for today. And when we look at the breakdown of the precip in terms of how it falls for the weekend, and that'll go through the 24-hour. Okay, so let's just back up for 1 second here. So here's 24 hours worth of precip ending Saturday morning. So that's what's going to fall. Doesn't count what's already fallen overnight, of course. So There's the 24-hour precip through Saturday morning, and then when we go to the 24-hour precip through Monday morning, most of the amounts are on the light side, heavier amounts up to the north. So the bulk of this is all going to fall for Friday into Friday night, and then over the weekend it's going to be those annoying showers that are going to be around. And by the way, as far as the snow is concerned, and we'll leave that to the end, and if you want to believe it, at least through Monday, I would say this is all obviously elevation driven through upstate New York, northern Pennsylvania, probably overdone to a large degree, unless that upper low really stays energized. But I wouldn't be surprised to see some interesting amounts show up in one or two places where there's elevation through upstate New York and in through northern Pennsylvania. Very interesting times. Can you imagine if this was even just a few weeks ago, we would probably see the extent of the snow much further south. And if we took this pattern back to March, we would probably be seeing a lot of snow being generated out of all of this. So just in review very quickly, there's your threat for severe weather today: the southeast, the northwest, and pretty much quiet everywhere else. Latest website posts on meteorologistjoechaffee.com. Angry Ben has New York City covered on nycweathernow.com. And you can subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is absolutely free. And you hit the little red subscribe button on the channel page and you become a regular member. It doesn't cost you a dime. You get notified when new videos come up, which is at least once a day. And by the way, if you haven't done so already, go to my Facebook page, Meteorologist Joe Chaffee, Cioffi, and do join, because I do Facebook videos usually once a day as well. And very soon, with the technology the way it's going, there's going to be all sorts of interesting ways of doing live videos on my on Facebook. So you might want to hook up there if you like these weather videos. I hesitate to say love, but if you do like or love these weather videos, you'll get more on the Facebook page as well. Meteorologist Joe Chaffee. Okay, folks, have a great Thursday. Be safe, and we will talk to you tomorrow.